The courtroom was silent, the kind of silence that presses against your chest and makes it hard to breathe. Every eye in the room was fixed on the man standing behind the cold metal railing. His hands were cuffed, his face pale but strangely calm, as if he had already accepted the fate waiting for him. Daniel Carter looked at the judge without blinking. For months he had repeated the same words again and again. I didn't do it. But those words had slowly lost their meaning. The prosecutor had torn them apart. The witnesses had doubted them. Even the newspapers had already called him a murderer before the trial was over. The judge adjusted his glasses and looked down at the file in front of him. "Daniel Carter," he said in a heavy voice, "you have been found guilty of the murder of businessman Victor Hale." After careful consideration of the evidence presented, Daniel's lawyer lowered his head. The jury members avoided eye contact. In the back of the room, reporters held their pens ready. "This court sentences you to death." A quiet gasp spread across the courtroom. Daniel closed his eyes for a moment. He had expected this. The fingerprints on the weapon, the security footage placing him near the building, the missing money. Everything had pointed at him like arrows. Everything except the truth. When he opened his eyes again, he looked toward the courtroom doors. Rustam, he thought. For weeks, while sitting in a dark prison cell, he had whispered the same name every night. Rustam wasn't a person. Rustam was his dog, a large German shepherd who had been with Daniel for almost 8 years. Loyal, smart, stubborn, and the only living creature who had been there the night Victor Hale was murdered. But of course, no one had listened when Daniel tried to explain that. A dog can't testify. The prosecutor had mocked during the trial. The judge was about to strike the gavel when suddenly, bang, the courtroom doors slammed open. Everyone turned IT first. People thought it was just a stray animal. A large, dusty German shepherd stood at the entrance, breathing heavily as if he had run miles. Then someone whispered, "Is that a dog?" Murmurs spread through the room. The dog's eyes scanned the courtroom frantically until they landed on Daniel. Daniel's breath caught in his throat. "Rustam," he whispered. The dog barked loudly and ran forward, his paws echoing against the marble floor. Security guards rushed forward. "Stop that animal." But Rustam dodged them easily. He jumped over a bench, slid across the polished floor, and rushed straight toward the front of the courtroom. Daniel stepped closer to the railing, his heart pounding. "Rustam, what are you doing here?" The dog stopped in front of the judge's bench. For a moment, the entire courtroom froze. Then people noticed something strange. Rustam wasn't empty-mouthed. Clamped gently between his teeth was a small black object, a phone. The judge frowned. "What is the meaning of this?" One of the guards cautiously approached the dog. Rustam didn't growl. Instead, he placed the phone carefully on the floor and nudged it forward with his nose. Daniel's lawyer suddenly leaned forward. "Your Honor, that looks like a smartphone." The prosecutor scoffed. "Are we seriously interrupting a court ruling because of a dog?" But Daniel's lawyer had already picked up the phone. The screen lit up. His eyes widened. Wait a second." The judge frowned. "Counselor." The lawyer's voice shook slightly. "This phone, it's Victor Hale's phone." The courtroom erupted with whispers. "That phone was never found." Someone from the jury whispered. The prosecutor quickly stepped forward. "That proves nothing." But the lawyer was already unlocking the phone. The screen opened directly to a video recording. Everyone leaned closer. The lawyer turned the screen toward the judge. "Your Honor, I think you need to see this." The judge hesitated, then nodded. The lawyer pressed play. The video began with shaky footage inside Victor Hale's office. The camera angles suggested the phone had been dropped or hidden near the floor. Victor Hale appeared on screen, arguing with someone. But that someone wasn't Daniel. A tall man in a dark coat stood across the desk. The prosecutor's face suddenly turned pale, because the man in the video was him. Gasps filled the courtroom. In the video, Victor Hale shouted, "You think you can steal from me and get away with it?" The prosecutor in the video replied coldly, You should have stayed quiet. Then the screen showed him pulling a gun. A single gunshot echoed from the phone's speaker. Someone in the courtroom screamed. The video ended with the phone falling completely sideways, just as a large German shepherd ran into the frame, barking wildly. Rustam. Back in the courtroom, the silence was overwhelming. The judge slowly lifted his eyes. "Prosecutor Hayes," he said quietly. The man's face was covered in sweat now. This is fake," he stammered. But two police officers were already moving toward him. "You're under arrest," one of them said. Chaos exploded in the courtroom. Reporters shouted. Cameras flashed. The jury stared in disbelief. And Daniel just dropped to his knees behind the railing. Rustam ran to him instantly, whining softly. Daniel wrapped his arms around the dog's neck. "You did it! You found it!" he whispered, his voice breaking. The judge looked down at the scene, then raised his gavel once more. "This court hereby overturns the sentence of Daniel Carter," he announced firmly. Another loud gasp filled the room. Daniel buried his face into Rustam's fur, tears streaming down his cheeks. The dog wagged his tail slowly, licking Daniel's face as if to say only one thing. "I told you I'd come back." Dog balanced scale astonished face.